Greetings, friends, and happy Friday. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Yes, what a week. Still recovering here, as you can tell from my voice. Not at 100%, but getting there. My email, sam@samandashlaw.com, at What's Right Sam on Twitter and Instagram. I said Facebook yesterday when we were signing off. You know what I mean? I meant Meta. I'm not on Facebook. Sorry, guys. Just on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Insta. All right. There's a lot to cover today. Busy day in D.C. I want to just briefly talk about some drama here in Nevada. Now, we are based in the beautiful city of Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. By the way, it's a beautiful day today. Tomorrow's going to be 75 degrees. Oh, I can hardly wait. Just the perfect time of year. Spring and fall here, absolutely spectacular. But one of the things that is increasing, along with the temperatures here, is friction between our governor, Republican Joe Lombardo, and our Democrat Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford. Now, it's spelled Aaron Ford. Aaron is how he pronounces it. I'm not making fun of him. That is how he asks people to pronounce his name. It's a little weird. Anyway, so Aaron versus Joe Lombardo's looking like it's going to be the matchup in the next election, in the 2026 election. And here's, I'm bringing this up, folks, even if you're not based here in Nevada. The conflict that is arising here is much of what is occurring across the country, and particularly in D.C., as DOJ goes to work on fixing and right-sizing this government. Aaron Ford has decided, all on his own as Attorney General, that the state of Nevada is going to remain a sanctuary state. And Lombardo had to smack him down this week and say, we are not a sanctuary state, and we will enforce federal law. Now, it got me thinking about this, and I have to, a listener, Ryan, emailed me this morning about this. And Ryan, by the way, thank you so much for your email, because it got my thoughts flowing on this. You know, so much of the status quo that the political left is so vehemently trying to protect has to do with money and money only. I don't know if you saw this. One of the things that, and I think it's going to be a problem. We have a sheriff here who's kind of the chief law enforcement officer of Clark County, of the county that, you know, is Southern Nevada, is Las Vegas. His name is McMahill. And when Trump's immigration efforts began, one of the things that he did is he put out there, a statement saying, we're not going to go into elementary schools. We're not going to ask people their immigration status. We're basically not going to do anything. Almost sounded like a Democrat. Now, McMahill wants to win in a blue-ish county. I understand that. He is himself supposedly a Republican. I think this press release will come back to haunt him. But the reason that Aaron Ford is doubling down on this and is putting out there statements, things like, we're not going to enforce immigration law in our schools, is because when it comes to schools, right, the school districts get paid per pupil that is sitting in the seat. The teachers' unions who support Aaron Ford and all the Democrats here benefit from having as many pupils sitting in the classroom as possible. Per student, more money for teachers, more teachers get paid, more teachers pay dues, and the union gets fat. And it's the same thing with the DOJ efforts and eliminating USAID and all these ridiculous agencies. Wait till they get into the Department of Education on the federal level. I mean, They're all screaming. I said yesterday, I called it squealing like stuck pigs because they've been at this trough feeding off of government money. And now the music finally is coming to an end. And that's the conflict. And here's what Republicans need to do. And I hope Lombardo has found some spine here because his statement, by the way, is very good. I like Joe Lombardo. He's a good guy, and I obviously support him. But governors across this country need to understand that this immigration issue is a winner among Republicans, independents, and actually a lot of Democrats. Republicans need to realize that if they are running against a sanctuary city Democrat, a sanctuary state Democrat, a pro-illegal immigration politician, the only response to this is to be on the side of Trump, to be on the side of American sovereignty, to be on the side of law and order. It is a winner. And one of the reasons I say this is because you look at the response from the public to these very public raids. Tom Homan out there basically chasing people down and popping up in neighborhoods, even in blue states. And the Trump, program is popular. We're over a month in, and people are not aghast. We're not going back to, what was that, Robbie, 2018, with AOC showing up in front of the detention center crying about kids in cages like that. That's over. Biden took it so far that the Democrats can no longer play that play. They can't use that playbook. It will never work again. It's not going to work here in Nevada. It's not going to work in Ohio. Frankly, I don't even know if it's going to work in California. And if Trump somehow succeeds in forcing California to go to paper ballots as a condition of getting federal funds to clean up the fire mess, then, it may very well end up being that California is far more of a wobbler state, a far more purple state, when all is said and done, than people imagine. So we are in a fight right now that has to continue, right? It wasn't just enough that November 5th, the stars aligned and Trump won. And it wasn't accidental either. I don't want to say it was the stars aligning. I mean, some of that certainly I attribute to good fortune, but a lot of it, comes down to the fact that the American public was, we had it up to our, up to our noses with the flood of illegal immigrants, and the Democrats did it on purpose. Robbie, do we have that poll? I had it somewhere here about among Democrats, how many Democrats think that the border was opened under Biden on purpose versus that it was just, sort of a whoopsie daisy. And I think it was like 75-25, if not mistaken. Verify that for me, please. But still, there's 25% of Democrats, a significant number of Democrats are like, this was done on purpose. They understand it, and even they don't want it, right? And we remember leading up to the elections, we constantly went over the immigration numbers, and I mean, hell, even a majority of Hispanics in America wanted to see deportations. But the Democrats, and this is why a lot of local Democrats love the sanctuary city thing, because it is a driver of revenue. And it's the way to combat this is to take away all the NGO money, because that was money that was flowing from the feds. That was funny money that was printed in DC, basically, borrowed, our kids' and grandkids' futures mortgaged to pay all these little NGO people who were all, in turn, giant Democratic Party donors. Let's be honest about that. So it kept a perverse profit incentive for mass illegal immigration. And then, of course, all the social services, which is another feeder for, Democrat power, and control. Schools, Medicare at a local level, right? Social services. I mean, these are not, bastions of republicanism, all right? These are all Democratic operations. And they're patronage grift, operations. Oh, hey, you've been a good Democrat. We're going to put you in charge of this little Medi-Cal office in San Bernardino, California. Pat on the head. There you go. Now go hire 20 more Democrats to go run in that, to operate that office. Patronage. And it's coming to an end. So this is, and Republicans, I'm saying this to our governor here. I'm saying this to every Republican governor that's a little on the weak-kneed side. It's not going to work out for you, okay? If you want to get the Trump vote, and look here in Nevada how this all went down. If you want to be Donald Trump, then be Donald Trump. But if you're going to be Sam Brown and try to play it, easy, you're going to lose. In the very same election where Trump ran and Sam Brown ran a terrible campaign. His senator here who tried to, squeeze out a Democrat senator. Could have been an extra voice for Trump in the Senate. But he just didn't go all in, my opinion. When Trump went all in, came to Nevada, didn't tweak his message, said this is what's going to be. We're going to fix the country. We're going to make America great again. We're going to deport people. We're going to, kick ass and take names. Yeehaw. Everybody here was getting the vapors. And a lot of smart folks, political folks here in Nevada told me this is not going to play in Nevada. Well, it played. And 6 electoral college votes later, Trump won the great state of Nevada. And why should you, if you live in Pennsylvania or Ohio, care about what happens in Nevada? Well, first of all, I'm offended because Nevada's a great state, so I want you to care about us over here. But Nevada's a purple state, right? We're this sort of bellwether state. We're a swing state. So we matter, much in the way that other swing states matter as well. We're the canary in the mine. We are a warning or encouragement of conditions ahead. Have to take a quick break here. They're looking at me kind of cross. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam & Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings, friends, and welcome to the What's Right show. So speaking of being wrong occasionally, Robbie here correcting me during the break that I got my numbers reversed on that poll I mentioned. See, this is what happens when I don't have it right in front of me. My dyslexia kicks in. Yes, this was the story in Breitbart. A staggering 75% of Democrats do not believe President Joe Biden's administration deliberately kept the border open. So it was actually 75 that thought it was a whoopsie daisy, and 25 that were like, yeah, it happened on purpose. Just letting you know, this is a poll just conducted, last week, and the results released the other day. Look, Alejandro Mayorkas ought to be arrested and tried for human trafficking. That man is responsible for so much untold misery. It boggles the mind. And that's, I'm going to talk a little bit about this here today, about accountability. Because when I look at this Epstein file mess, okay, and I'm still, listen, folks, I'm not getting on the bandwagon here of getting mad at Pam Bondi. I'm not going to do it. Like Bondi and Kash Patel have a Herculean task ahead, which is they have to clean up these institutions. When you said, right? I said, we all said the FBI is rotten to its core. When we said that the DOJ, has a systemic bias against patriots, when we said that perhaps some of these institutions have to be eliminated, okay? What do you think? It's just you put Kash Patel in, you put Pam Bondi in, you replace a few top, attorneys, U.S. attorneys, and all of a sudden, you bring Dan Bongino in as deputy FBI director, and presto, 2 weeks later, it's all humming. I mean, it's nonsense, right? It's nonsense. It doesn't work this way, and you got to understand. So again, just some developments here of what we figured out overnight is really there are people in the Southern District of New York that have been covering. They've been in charge of the criminal case against Epstein when Epstein died. Of course, then focus shifted to Ghislaine Maxwell, his gal pal, who was a facilitator of some of these gals being sent around the world and used for sexual purposes. But it kind of stopped there, right? And these people have sat on these files, and worse yet, it's emerging that possibly evidence has been destroyed. Now, I absolutely believe that the people that did the stuff that we know about in order to get Trump, in order to preserve their own hides, in order to maintain status quo, push back on efforts to reform the government that, of course, would have been hostile to their interests, knowing the stuff that we know that they've done, I absolutely believe that a criminal destruction of evidence, unlawful destruction of evidence, would occur. I absolutely believe that. And if it has occurred, in fact, we need prosecutions, disbarments. We need a great reckoning on this. And I think when it comes to Epstein, I'm going to go somewhere here where I think it's important, right? I understand that and I've always been a realist about this, that it will be difficult to prosecute and convict Democrat operatives in Manhattan. Because, I mean, do I have to explain it, right? In a jurisdiction that would convict Trump of breathing. Okay, like the DA in Manhattan could have brought a case against Trump for literally taking breaths, and they would have convicted him. Is there a law against it? No, doesn't matter. Hate Trump. End of story. Same people are going to let off criminals, wrongdoers, as long as they're ideologically aligned. The problem, the wrinkle in that logic for all the people, sitting at home now, out of their jobs, thinking, well, geez, I did some criminal stuff. I did. I shredded some of those files. I deleted, some of those servers. I wiped them clean, a la Hillary Clinton. Hillary got away with it. I mean, I'm going to get away with it. Why not? Are now sitting at home going, but this is Epstein. These are like, this was a sexual predator. Like, these were kids that were violated. How sympathetic is the public going to be to me? Like, I think, and those of you who have listened and followed the What's Right show for a while, my friends, how many times have I said in the past that these people, okay, people at the DOJ, at the FBI, and I would even throw in all these NGO folks and DC insiders. I told you, these people are so confident of no repercussions ever coming their way. They're so confident that they had the full power of the establishment behind them. A confidence that was increased exponentially once these deep state creatures survived 4 years of Trump 1.0, of Trump 45. And all these people thought they could get away. And so they got sloppy and they got lazy and they got careless and they got reckless. And it's all going to come back to them. Mark my words, it is going to be bad. More on this when we come back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the What's Right Show, your place for common sense conservatism, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. So fun note, I had a great opportunity this morning to meet in my office a client who is a fan of the show, loves to listen in the afternoon, loves my segments with Alan Stock, listens every day to Alan Stock, every day to this program, and he's somebody who listened to my exhortations here, that you, if you get injured, if you get hurt, if somebody rear ends you out there, you suffer an injury, get advice, and get advice, legal advice from a lawyer that you trust. Don't go to one of these crash clowns, okay? Sam and Ash Injury Law. This is the only law firm to trust. I know because I am the Sam of Sam and Ash, the less good-looking, less brilliant half of the dynamic duo. Ash Watkins, my friend, but everybody thinks that Ash and I are married. I have to. Little side note here. I was laughing. A client, Michael, came in and a fan, and we had a moment to talk, and he's like, "Oh, be sure to tell your wife hello." And I sensed where this was going. Robbie, I was like, "Oh, okay, I will. I mean, Sherry's wonderful." But then he said, "You guys just work so well together." I said, "Oh, yes, my work wife. So I said, well, so Ashley and I are friends and partners, and I'm married to somebody else." And then I told him the funny story. Robbie, have I told you this about Sherry, her jersey when we go to Golden Knights games? She's got so she has a Golden Knights jersey that she wears to games, and it's a custom one. She did this herself. On the back of it, she doesn't have Sherry. It has not Ash. That's she's got a good sense of humor. So anyway, yes. So we had a great chat. But here's the point. He did it right. He got hurt. I'm not going to get into the details of his case, but he got hurt, and he called us and gets into the office, is getting help, meeting with the legal team downstairs. Everything's good. And that's what you want, because you don't want to just go at this alone with the insurance company. Your agent's a nice guy. Your agent's responsibility is to renew your policy, make sure you have the right coverage and limits and all that. But when it comes to the claim, he doesn't make those decisions. It all goes through a computer at headquarters, wherever, State Farm, whatever the insurance company is. And that algorithm is literally written to save the money and screw you. Trust me. I'm a capitalist. I'm a patriot. But I understand how these things work. You got to fight for your rights. And it's not a lottery win. That's not what we do. We just make sure that you get what's right. So, very simple. 702-820-1234, Nevada and California. We have a beautiful office, a staffed office in Newport Beach, California, where it's fun. I get to visit once in a while. But just letting you know, that's what to do. So, Michael, welcome aboard. Great to meet you, sir, earlier today, and thank you for your kind words. It was just very, very nice to hear, and I might have blushed a little bit. Okay, friends, where are we at? Oh, accountability. This piece, and Robbie's I don't know if you know this about producer Robbie. He's a veteran. He served. And served, by the way, in combat, Robbie. We can say that, right? By the technical definition of the word, in spite of what Jonah Goldberg and his fat ass thinks, right? Okay. By the way, I'm referring to Jonah Goldberg's happened to... God, Jonah Goldberg, Remember my comment, Robbie? I remember a time when Jonah Goldberg was relevant. I remember I read his books. Like I have 2 or 3 of his books still in my library. And you know, I mean, when I was in my 20s, early 30s, but along came Trump and Jonah Goldberg, who wrote for the for the National Review and a DC Republican, okay, a true Washingtonian Republican, a Bush Republican, who has been wrong about so many things. And some of us, Bush or former Bush Republicans, have the decency to admit that we're wrong. Now, wait a minute. I'm getting to my bigger point here, Robbie. I know I'm long-winded today. It's Friday. Give me a break. Some of us pro-Bush people, I voted for Bush twice, okay? I've come on this program many times to tell you my since developed differences with neoconservatism. But some people evolve, and some people adjust their opinions based on new information provided, and some people don't. And Jonah Goldberg's one of the people that hasn't. And he was at one point a rising star, young conservative thought leader, you know, in conservative circles. And that's why I say he is one of those never Trumpers whose brain got broken by Trump. And so he got into this ridiculous thing where he started accusing J.D. Vance of not having seen combat. And sorry, like, there's a definition for it. I'm not going to get into it. So I would say Vance won that fight roundly. And Jonah Goldberg just looked like a clown. Now, why this matters? Well, folks, you're not going to win any of these people over. This is where I started this show today talking about Lombardo. And I'm not going to pick on our governor here in Nevada too much, but we're not going to win over the squishy middle, the never Trump, you know, the radical leftists, the trans crazies, right? We're not going to win those people. But we've proven this last election that America was ready for a change, and that whatever it was that Biden, Kamala, and the cabal of Democrats was doing was just not what the country was in the mood for. So, question now comes to accountability. And speaking of the military, one of the great things that Pete Hegseth is going to have to do, and Robbie, that article is phenomenal, and I loved it. This is in Amuse on X, a piece written, 3 days ago, about contempt and consequence. And it's a case for court-martialing insubordinate flag officers. And it goes, Robbie, I love that. It goes to the holy grail of it, which is even General Mattis. His public letter in 2020, even though he's retired, he excoriated President Trump as a divisive leader who does not even pretend to try to unite the country. So this is, and by the way, that Mattis's words were intended to delegitimize the commander-in-chief in the eyes of the armed forces. Admiral Mike Mullen, another former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, claimed he was sickened by Trump's use of military force to quell riots. General John Allen called Trump's leadership the beginning of the end of American democracy. What Hegseth has to do, and it's the same in the FBI, it's the same at the DOJ, and it's going to take time, is you have to go through and hold high-level people accountable. You're not going to fix rank-and-file problems if you don't, lop a few heads off at the top. Firings won't be enough, right? Look at, where do I think of all of the folks inside. Look at the final stages of Trump's presidency of his Trump 45, or as I call it, Trump 1.0, keeping it simple, right? I mean, the levels of insubordination against Trump. You had a top Joint Chiefs of Staff general communicating with China and telling our what I would consider our top geopolitical adversaries in the world, telling them, hey, don't worry, the president's not in the chain of command. I mean, it's mutiny. It's treason. It has to be prosecuted, and it absolutely ought to be, even though this particular person received a pardon from outgoing President Joe Biden. Still doesn't mean that he can't be court-martialed. And he ought to be. These FBI agents that broke the law, James Comey, who lied through his teeth every chance he got to Congress. I'm not even talking about the media. And I told you, Robbie, we need to dust off that interview with Chris Wallace. Yeah, I sat down with Comey. Remember, this was a few years ago, and Comey tried to defend, the FBI, and Wallace, who's not Wallace is not a Trumpster, okay, kept bringing it back to Horowitz's, the Inspector General's report, kept bringing it back to the Inspector General. Oh, well, the Inspector General report says that this was possibly intentionally done. Well, mistakes were made. Bullcrap. These weren't mistakes. You deliberately violated your oaths. Oh, I didn't know. This was great. Comey. Oh, I didn't. The director of the FBI is not intimately aware of every detail in every investigation. Chris Wallace goes, oh, hey, wait a minute. This wasn't just any investigation. You were spying on the campaign of the Republican nominee for president. And then when he won the election, you were spying on the president-elect and on his transition. And you did it on the guy. Your agents got warrants for Carter Page and others, got warrants on the basis of the Steele dossier that you knew were a load of bunk. If there isn't a criminal prosecution, if Comey isn't let off in handcuffs, I don't know that we can fix the country. I mean, I'm all in for Trump. And it's not going to happen tomorrow. These cases have to be built and developed. And before the cases have to be built and developed, the agency has to be cleaned up. So this is going to take 2 years. I'm just wanting to temper. Everybody's like, oh, where's the files? Why didn't we get all the files? Everybody's freaking out. Look, I'm with Pam Bondi's got an impossible Herculean task of getting all this cleaned up. It's not going to happen overnight. All right, the clock is never my friend. I tell you, I fight the clock like I fight nothing else in life. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings, and please stay with us here through the break. More to cover on the impossible but very doable and achievable task of cleaning up our great democracy. Hi, welcome back. The What's Right show is on, powered by Sam & Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. I've been meaning to get to this all week, talking about those Trump gold cards. You saw this. This came out, what was it, on Wednesday during the, well, it came out before, but they talked about it at great length at the first cabinet meeting midweek. And, and so this is the $5 million green card. And one thing that Trump said about this is that there are companies that would pay this much to bring critical people into the country. So I have to, before I get too distracted, I'm going to talk about the Zelensky meeting here at the top of the hour. So don't worry. I will get into that. Fear not. But my criticism. Okay, well, I'll start with my criticisms of the $5 million green card. If we don't get rid of automatic citizenship for every Chinese birth mother that comes into this country and drops a baby and immediately gets a passport. This thing will never sell, okay? Or it's not going to sell at the volume that Trump needs in order to raise trillions of dollars to pay off the debt. So that's one criticism I have. You gotta go after birthright citizenship. Just it's a must. Okay, it'll make this more valuable. Two, I'm concerned, of course, about hostile countries getting their people, and everybody's going to get vetted. Vetting only goes so far. Me personally, I would say it's from a country security, perspective. The fewer dual nationals that we have with China, the better. I believe that. That's a foundational, thing. I think with very few exceptions, every Chinese national in the country, and even some born Americans who are not dual citizens, who have family in China and business interests in China, are agents essentially of the Chi-Coms. I fundamentally believe this, and I've had extensive personal experiences to back this up. So that's my concern, right? I mean, the Chinese are going to buy this up at 5 million. What is that to the Chinese Communist Party? They're going to start to buy this for their most loyal affiliates, okay, that may not be party members themselves, but certainly will be reliable Chinese agents in this country. So I'm concerned about that. But I think we should try it. I don't know if it's not going to raise $50 trillion like Trump says. This is classic Trump. He just throws it out there and, I don't know, it could do very well, might not. I'm going with Howard Lutnick. I think it could raise $1 trillion. And given, our national debt, that's, 1/25th or so less of our national debt. I mean, it's not nothing, right? It's not nothing. So we got to do it. And the other thing I want to point out is, let's say you're going to countries in Europe, right? And you're going after Europeans, you're going after, hell, even people, in India and other countries that are not, as ideologically hostile to us, the way China is, or geopolitically hostile, right? If you go after these people, think of the kind of quality folks you're getting. Somebody is paying $5 million just for a chance to be in the country. That's a radically different immigrant. And by the way, it speaks to the criticism that I always get when I talk about immigration, because people on the other side say that I hate immigrants. I said, no, I don't like criminals, and I don't like, dirty people, right? I mean, if we need laborers, then okay, right? But if we need doctors, why are we making it easy for just people we don't know to come across the border, who are unvetted, who are literally unknown, who have no background checks, right? Come into the country, and then we make it impossible for college-educated immigrants to come in through the front door, right? That's the problem. So here, a program that gives a benefit to people who have the ability to pay, or who have a company sponsor them at that level, to me is everything. Is everything. So, I think it could work. By the way, the other immigration update here is that Trump has signed an executive order, he's going to, that makes English the official language of the United States. I mean, I think it's long overdue. Again, my parents came to this country. They learned English. They spoke English. They write in English. I mean, it's, you have to have a common language. You have a common language, you're just you're a fractured country. So I think these are all good developments, and I just don't think that it's going to solve. There's no silver bullet, even when it comes to a gold card, to solving our national debt. We're going to have to pay this off over 100 years. I mean, that's what it's going to take to get rid of this $25-30 trillion millstone that is hanging around our necks. It's just awful. And it starts with, by the way, what Doge is doing, getting the spending in order, getting the spending in check. So absolutely has to happen. Biden, by the way, did you hear that Trump said that Biden told him that they had a conversation and who Biden blamed for his loss? Yeah, so, well, he blamed Pelosi. Pelosi got the most of Biden's ire. That's funny. Well, I told you this. I knew this, and this is why Pelosi's was left hanging without a pardon. Everybody that stuck a knife in Biden didn't get one, and then he blamed Barack Obama too. So lots of bad feelings between Joe Biden and Barry and Nancy. All right, let's get to this fiery meeting at the White House earlier today. President Zelensky sitting down with J.D. Vance and the president. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Greetings, friends, and welcome to the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Okay, second hour of the What's Right show. On a Friday, I typically start to try to wind things down a little bit, get ready for the weekend. But I can't do this. Oh my gosh, Trump blew a gasket at the White House, and I honestly don't blame him. But I also have to explain the strategy behind this. Why do so many people get hung up on? I feel like so many people have never experienced real life, Robbie. Like so many people have never had to be in a negotiation. One of my mentors, it's all has to do here. I promise you, I'm bringing this back to what happened in the White House today. I have to tell you this. One of my great mentors, a very successful businessman, self-made guy, and dear friend now in the Czech Republic. And he was a young entrepreneur when I got to know him in my late teens. I was 18 when I met him, and worked for him when I was 19. And he taught me a lot. But one of the things that he taught me is, he said, you sometimes you just have to get angry at people. Now, you never actually, Sam, he goes, it's good not to ever actually get angry. Don't let it get to you. Don't let it raise, your blood pressure. But you have to sometimes you have to look very scary and very upset in order for your opponent to shift his expectations and readjust his thinking. Zelensky has been coming to the U.S. as a celebrity since this war began. He had a history in this country beforehand, and that is, of course, as somebody who was very supportive of the Democrats, okay? Cozy with the Democrats, right? But that's the history. Since the war began, America supporting Ukraine, every time Zelensky came, he got smoke blown up his rear end, and everybody fawning over him, looking to have pictures taken with him as some sort of social media influencer. Okay, and look, to me, I'm not in favor of Russian aggression or Russian expansion. I've always said this from the beginning, but I always has, the more you come and ask for help out of my pocket, out of my tax dollars, I think you've got to show some respect. This is just fundamental. And I think what we saw here, I'll take you through it here, a couple of moments that are critical in this meeting, because it was a disaster for Zelensky. Don't let anybody tell you that this is bad on Trump. Every Democrat out there, every mainstream media outlet is going to be crowing over the fact that this is the darkest day in America. Okay, it was not. For the first time we had a president who isn't a globalist puppet stooge talk to President Zelensky, and in fact, talking to all foreign leaders, as an American. We are America. We're not the gosh damn United Nations, okay? And I think sometimes the left forgets this. They want us to be, they want us to be like the League of Nations. Like, we're here, the Americans, but we're a part of the group, and we're here to support global democracy, and it's a kumbaya. And look, even if you didn't vote for Trump, you got to admit, Trump ran on an America First platform. He won majority of votes, right? Won the popular vote, won all the swing states. Will you sit down, shut up, and let the man do what he's going to do? He's being consistent with what he campaigned on. Fighting him on it is a losing proposition, in my view. So Zelensky comes into the White House. Trump, graciously, like he has with all these leaders, comes to the door and greets him. Again, I've seen some people in the media say, he didn't come out and greet. He was rude. No, he comes to the front portico, greets him right there, shakes his hand, bring him into the Oval, do the meet and greet. They sit down, and things begin to go awry. All right? And here's the exchange that everybody's talking about. Now, I want to frame this a little bit here. It's 2 minutes. I'm not doing that here to scare you. It's just 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes of your time. You want to listen to this. And if you've got the radio turned down, might have to turn it up a little bit here just to hear this. You want to get every word of this. And if you're watching, because of course on Spotify here, if you got the show, you'll see the clip and you'll see me, probably my facial expressions as I go through this. Body language. I'm a huge body language person. So I'll get through that here at the end of this, but please, I'm not going to interrupt this because I've not witnessed anything like this, and I don't mean that pejoratively. I just mean that this was a smackdown that was badly needed, and I will explain to you why this is good for the objectives of peace. So just here, let me Robbie play the clip.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
That.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
I'm not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you don't.
I'm
Yeah,
very
you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think
You're
you-
gambling with World War III.
what do you think
You're
about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you.
your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respectful.
should have.
Now, what do you think is the most important part of this entire exchange? Because I one thing stood out to me. People are saying, "Oh, Trump is so disrespectful," or they're saying, "Oh, Trump is so alpha, finally an alpha." There's something that stood out to me. What was this thing that Zelensky and folks? Let me. I will say something about Zelensky here, in fairness, okay, if I may. To every American that only speaks English and wants to criticize Zelensky's accent or his lack of linguistic adroitness in English, please don't. Right? Don't do that. Okay. It's hard having a command of another language. Like I'm bilingual. I speak Czech, and even I struggle in Czech. When I'm dealing with legal concepts and things like this, that I for example, I could not do. I would struggle to do this program, for example, in Czech. Okay, it would be a struggle for me, even though I'm fluent, right? So I respect the fact that he is speaking in English. I think it's a tactical mistake on his part to do this. Side note, Putin is rumored to speak good English and understand English perfectly. He never speaks English. He always speaks through an interpreter. He's always very careful about every word he says because Putin is far smarter than Zelensky. This is something that is emerging out of this. To me, Zelensky has a series of unforced errors, got defensive immediately, got hostile immediately because he's not been used to being talked to in this way. There's a problem. People have literally been writing him $100 billion checks, and he's never had any pushback. So what I think is the most important part here is Zelensky saying, well, we all have problems. I have problems. You guys have problems. Trump goes, what do you mean? We have to leave us out of this. I mean, we're fine. Well, you have an ocean, but you don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless. Trump says, you don't know that. You don't know that. You will not have war. And then Zelensky said, I'm telling you, and you're going to feel very good, very strong. Trump said that. And Zelensky goes, you will feel influence. See, here's what's going on behind the scenes. All these crap EU, deep state, globalist, little beesies are filling Zelensky's head full of anti-Trump crap. Oh, we're going to isolate America. America, this is America's loss. If Trump doesn't support you, I cannot, and I say this as somebody who knows a fair amount about Europe. I can't stop my amazement at the idiocy that is the bulk of European leadership right now. These people, okay, who are yelling, oh, we're going to do this without you, America. These are like the teenagers, when you got an 18-year-old, I'm going to have one soon, who are like, I'm an adult. And you're like, okay, well, so about your car insurance, about your health insurance, about your rent, about you moving out, about your college tuition, about your food. Like, what are you doing about that? Oh, well, I mean, you're going to take care of that. That's the dynamic here. Europe is completely dependent. Look at the NATO budget. Putin, even with his crap military, could roll over half of Europe right now if it weren't for the US. My gosh. And Trump's point here is, will you, little man, not wearing a suit, that by the way got brought up, will you just be grateful? And Zelensky wasn't able to do that. He wasn't able to even schmooze. He's a lightweight. And a guy that showed, bravery in the beginning is devolving into something that is just as profoundly disappointing. I mean this in Zelensky. It's just not good. So when I come back, let me explain why what Trump did is strategically important, okay? Because it was. Anybody who tries to tell you differently is a clown. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. The What's Right show will be back in just a minute.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here, host of the What's Right Show, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. Fireworks at the White House. Zelensky getting taken to the woodshed by Trump. By the way, looks like Trump, I think, kicked him out of the White House. Didn't even come to the front door afterwards. So no doubt what we saw on camera was probably just the tip of the iceberg. It seems that, look, to get the deal done, Trump has to bring both sides to the table. Trump recognizes that Putin will respond to flattery. He's figured that out. He's pursuing a path with Putin that does that. Zelensky has had everybody talk him up and talk him up and talk him up that he is now in an unreasonable position. Like, for example, as a lawyer, right? If I have somebody who has an injury that is reasonably worth, let's say $100,000 to $120,000, okay, and that person goes and talks to a bunch of family members who all have told them, no, your injury is worth, your case is worth $2 million or more. That client comes to me and says, all right, well, Sam, we're going to trial and I expect you to get me $2 million. I'm going to have to, I'm not just negotiating against an insurance company who wants to pay this guy 50 and not 120. I'm negotiating against my client and I have to bring him or her down to reality. It doesn't happen very often, but it does, right? So everybody that's saying, well, Trump is being hostile to, quote unquote, our side, in negotiations, sometimes even you have to negotiate with your own side. I've been married almost 20 years. Let me tell you, that's definitely the case. So that's what we had here. That's what this was. That's what is going on here. And that's why it was very important that it happened. Because, Zelensky has to believe that Trump would be willing, here's the important thing, will be willing to say, you know what? Screw it. Let's give all of Ukraine to Putin. He has to believe that in order to come to the table and make a deal, give up territory, and end it. That's the reality. Might sound harsh. Might sound bad. I'm explaining to you. You may disagree with it as an outcome, but I'm just telling you that this isn't just Trump flexing his ego, and anybody that characterizes it like that is has TDS and is an idiot. So no, I'm just pointing, I'm pointing this out. By the way, Trump didn't have patience with any of the reporters either. This was a moment some reporter asked Trump, what if? Hold on, here we go.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
Well, what if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh?
And end scene. It's exactly what I'm telling you. Folks, I get so many angry emails every day from people who are calling me all sorts of unkind things. Fine, okay. I enjoy them, by the way. Send more of them. I love the hate mail. But I understand what Trump is trying to do. He is bringing down the hammer of reality on a guy, on Zelensky, who has had every European leader from the comforts of their palatial, Secret Service protected palaces tell him, keep fighting, and we'll keep helping. And you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. And so there he goes. Thousands upon thousands of Ukrainian lives, young men, fathers, sons, brothers, into the meat grinder. It's not right. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. Be right back after this. Hi, I'm here. I'm glad, I'll tell you, I know my voice here is hanging by a thread, but it's me, Sam Mirejovsky, host of the What's Right show. Before I leave the Zelensky thing, I have to play the clip about the suit question. I know it's become his little shtick. He wears this pajama outfit. And it looks, I don't know, it looks silly. It does. And, well, it does. And here's a reporter asking him about it. I just play this real fast.
Second
And
question.
my second question for President Zelensky. Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, you have problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting.
I don't
the
have
authority of
such.
this office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something
maybe
like this.
something like
Yes,
yours.
sir.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I think look, it couldn't have been a worse day for Zelensky. He's trying to make a joke. He has no command presence. I'm looking at him from just a leadership. The guy. It's what a disappointment. Imagine your country is relying on this guy to lead you out of trouble. If I was Ukrainian and my son was fighting in the military, after seeing this performance, I would grab my kid and move to Zimbabwe. Okay? Same way I told my son. By the way, I told him the same thing when Biden was president, because he was considering maybe wanting to go into the military. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Robbie. He was talking about it. And I said, under Lloyd Austin, Joe Biden, and this cabal of losers, don't even think about it. They'll turn you into a tranny, this military of ours. Under Pete Hegseth, yeah, I'd consider it. Absolutely. I'd support it even. Maybe not ideal, but I would support it. Yeah, absolutely. So I had to play this one last thing. I know. We didn't cover the Bezos thing yet, have we, Robbie? I didn't talk about that yesterday. Help me. I've got this still as I'm recovering from this flu. I got a little bit of brain fog. Did we get to this yesterday? I don't think we did. Jeff Bezos, Rocket Man, he's the other Rocket Man, right? We got two billionaires in this country who enjoy rockets to space. Bezos is the less successful of the two in terms of the technology and whatnot. But Bezos aside from owning, Amazon and being an immensely wealthy multi-billionaire, also bought the Washington Post. And this, when he did this, what was it, about 10 years ago maybe now? When he bought the Washington Post, a bunch of libs immediately got the vapors because you can't, oh my gosh, a wealthy person owning a newspaper, my gosh, that's never been done in the history of the United States of America. Unprecedented, I say, tongue in cheek. So anyway, everybody got the conniption. And Jeff Bezos, I remember this vividly, Robbie. He said, I'm not gonna get involved. But that was back when Jeff, didn't get his muscles. He hadn't hit the creatine yet, if you know what I mean. Remember when Bezos was a kind of a dorky, little weak, pencil-necked guy? And he was not very physically robust. Let's put it that way. And he was married to Mackenzie. I think that was her name. And then suddenly he started pumping the iron, taking the creatine, shaved his head, started to look like a real, badass. And he dumped the wife and got the Sanchez lady. Okay. Kind of life makeover. Somewhere in there, Bezos and other very wealthy Americans like him, I don't say red pill, they just realized that the whole liberal way of doing things in this country is a joke. It's fugazi. It's not real. So he decided, and remember, he did the first thing that happened was during the election, during this past election cycle, he stepped in and refused his editor's requests to endorse Kamala Harris. Said, we're not going to do it. And by the way, the owner in the LA Times did the same thing, a billionaire guy. Now, why is this? Is this Bezos suddenly become a Trump supporter? No. He didn't want to get involved. He started to realize that it was all a joke, that the inmates were running the asylum. These people running the Washington Post and running the newsrooms at the New York Times and are the same people that are running USAID. Okay. So the latest thing that came out is this was just this past week. And CNN, by the way, is reporting that there's an open rebellion against Bezos over this, is that Bezos wrote an open email to the entire staff at the Post and saying that the daily opinion stories would only be in support and defense of two pillars. And the two pillars are personal liberties and free markets. It was the most brilliant thing he could have done, not because of the substance of it. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward directive. Personal liberties, okay, and free markets. It wasn't the substance of the directive, which really shouldn't be that complicated to do, right? It's not even that big of an idea. It's that it provoked a response from all the cockroaches. They all came flooding out, scurrying around, freaking out about the fact that how dare we just be in defense of liberty? How dare we just be in defense of free markets? How dare we literally support America, you might as well say, if you're one of these crazy liberal antagonists. And so the editorial director guy quit. He's out, and he's going to rebuild this newspaper. He has a chance of actually turning the Washington Post into something decent. Why is this important? Well, like I mentioned, it forced everybody in the left to reveal themselves as being opposed to personal liberties and free markets because they are all communists. But we knew that, right? Looking at you, right? It's like we knew what was going on. We would read it and go, I wouldn't let my hamster poop on this newspaper, let alone read it. But anyway, so it forced everybody to it forced all the leftists to reveal themselves as being anti-free markets, anti-personal freedoms. Read communists. Second thing, it is yet another domino to fall in the destruction of liberal institutions. And that's what's going to happen over the next 4 years. I don't need a crystal ball. I can just tell you. Trump, Elon Musk, and others leading the effort at systematically remaking Washington, and with it, the rest of the country. You know, our country, we know this, whether we're on, Wall Street or Main Street, we know that our country is diseased. But we can't fix it without healing our core, healing the center of our nervous system, which is, of course, the capital. And going after taking the Washington Post and making it a radically different newspaper from, let's say, the New York Times, making it a free market newspaper, making it actually what the Wall Street Journal once was, and actually, I think the Journal's lost its way to a great extent, is epic, is fantastic. And everybody crying about the report. Well, if any, I'm seeing all these posts, Robbie, about these Washington Post reporters going, nobody has told me yet what to write, but the moment they do, I quit. And I read that. My response is, good. Quit. Leave. Look at all the brilliant, conservative, pro-America, pro-liberties. I'd forget conservative. Pro-liberties, okay, and pro-free market writers in this country who would love to take a job, okay, who are eking by with some Substack revenue right now, who would love to take on top of that write for the Washington Post. And besides, it's all going to be written by AI tomorrow anyway. Back to what I was saying yesterday, these people are like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm important. I'm a journalist. Shut up. It's like me talking, if I were Bezos in my head, I'm picturing this like Trump talking to Zelensky. It's like, shut up. You're insignificant. I have all the cards. Mr. President, I'm not playing with cards. These people have nothing. And they held wealthy institutions and individuals hostage, making them believe that they were far more important and far more powerful than they actually were. Newspapers in the last 30 years occasionally were owned by center-right millionaires and billionaires. They were not all radical leftists, but these people were, maybe they were more like Jonah Goldberg. Maybe these people were actually just afraid of the inmates that were in the asylum. They believed that these people had influence and had power. The influence and power that these writers have comes from the institution. And what's the biggest threat, by the way, to media right now, establishment media and to newspapers, is that there are writers out there who write in tweet format, like, Cernovich, for example, who writes in a tweet and gets millions of more people read, Gad Sad's tweets than the entire readership of the Washington Post. You can be far more influential as an individual on Twitter. I get more people watching, downloading, listening to my show than, for example, local newscasts here in Nevada. You think about that. I don't need a TV station. I don't need infrastructure. I don't need the imprimis of having somebody come along and say, Sam, you're going to be on, if the station, if George Soros, because he owns Odyssey, decided tomorrow that we're going to start playing polka on KXNT, guess what? What would you do? First of all, you're going to follow me on X, so you know what I'm up to. So you're going to go to @What'sRightSam on X. You're going to click to follow me so you know what I'm doing. Okay? And 2, you're going to follow me wherever I am. Everybody's got a phone, right? So the institutions that used to give these people power and who believed that the people then that they gave power to were actually more important than the institutions, it's all being eradicated. It's all being blown up. It's the greatest information revolution, and coming exactly, not parallel to, but I would say the Trump revolution occurring because of these changes in the way media is distributed, consumed, created, etc. So exciting. And then you take the AI, and if you missed yesterday's show, go to Spotify, go to Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, go to at least listen to the open, because I got a little bit dark. I got some emails too about this, but AI is coming. It's a big thing, and it's going to have some downsides. But one of the plus sides of this is going to be seeing all these liberal reporters out of a job. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you, well, not by George Soros, that much I can tell you, by Sam and Ash, Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Hi, welcome back. The What's Right show is on, brought to you by Sam and Ash, Injury Law, 702-820-1234. In a crash, call Sam and Ash, because you deserve what's right. Now, speaking of, as we were before the break, of media that is drunk on its own self-importance, look no further than Exhibit A. B, we talked about Washington Post. Exhibit B, CNN. All right. There is, it's not David. How would I describe this? You know what it's like to have, what was that movie, The Ringer? Was that what it was, Robbie? And it was the guy who, I've forgotten everything about this movie except the premise. The guy pretends to be special needs to compete in the Special Olympics. Okay. Was it Johnny Knoxville? Yeah, I think so. Okay, well, it doesn't matter who it was. It was a funny movie, okay? Very politically incorrect. Obviously, that is totally not funny, Robbie. The idea of some able-bodied person competing against cripples, you can't laugh at that. That's how I feel. That's how I feel watching Scott Jennings on Abby Phillips. Or Phillip, whatever her frick name is. Okay. It's like, did he pretend to be slow? Did he audition for this role as like, oh, I'm just a Republican, I'm a Jonah Goldberg conservative. And they're like, oh, how nice, Scott. We'll have you on the program. And then he comes in, and it's like watching a high performance, brain battling out with a table full of mental midgets. This happened last night.
Can we be real for a moment that Doge is not about cutting money, right? It's not about spending. It's about shrinking government so that it'll be too small to stop Trump with whatever else is in this plan.
Why would the government stop Trump? Isn't he the head of the government? You're saying the government would be too small to stop Trump. If Trump's the president, why would the government, the bureaucracy, be actively trying to stop him?
Because he is shredding the Constitution and creating an authoritarian dictatorship. That's why.
And no matter who is in office, I'm going to hold them accountable. But more importantly, I'm going to make sure the government is working for the American people.
Both of you all made an interesting point, which is that your view is that Trump is shredding the Constitution. I'd like to hear more about that. But that it seems to me that you all both believe that the unelected part of our government, the bureaucracy, has a responsibility to resist the political leadership. Is that your view?
That's not actually what we
not at
said.
all
We
what I
said they
said.
are
Yeah,
upholding the Constitution, the principles of the Constitution, and at times
How
we
is
have
Trump
seen.
shredding the Constitution?
My God, he's like.
I mean, seriously,
He
do we
doesn't
have to
believe
give
in
you a
balance of
civics
power,
lesson
Scott.
that we have?
I don't know,
we put all power in the executive
How is
branch.
holding the
The legislative branch, the FBI. Now we're in control of the military.
Wait, stop the tape. Who is this guy talking? Touré? Substack author, Culture Fries by Touré. Okay, let me hold on. What's the clip? Let me just read. I've got to follow the Yeah, so what's his name? Okay, here's the exact line. Sorry, folks. Just get me to it. Yes. He goes, how is Trump shredding the Constitution? And then Toure goes, I mean, seriously, do we have to give you a civics lesson that we've put all power in the executive branch, the legislative branch, the FBI? The FBI is not its own branch of government. It's not. This is how crazy these people are. The FBI is not an independent law enforcement agency. It is under the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice is under the Attorney General, who is a part of Trump's cabinet. It's part of the executive branch, and the legislative branch has a duty of oversight. That's how this works. And this guy wants to give Jennings the civics lesson. Oh my gosh.
Silencing media. This is what you do in a dictatorship.
Are you suggesting that the president is not the commander-in-chief of the military?
I am suggesting that the president is going to put in charge somebody who is going to contravene the Constitution. And at some near point, this conversation will look very silly for you because it will be obvious. And right now, you're gaslighting. But when we get to the actual rubber of the road of this, it will be clear.
I'm interested in this conversation. He's going to put someone in charge who will contravene the Constitution. Like, who? What do you mean by that? The president is in charge of the military, is he not? You said he's going to put someone in charge of the military?
The president is in charge of the military. That is how it works.
He was elected president. We, according to the Constitution, vest all executive authority in a president. And the concept that the military should be an independent agency or that the bureaucracy should resist the political leadership of this government is extraordinarily dangerous.
That's a straw man.
That's literally not what we said.
I'm just repeating back to you your own words.
This is, they're all mental midgets. I'm just bringing it up because it's funny. It's absolutely funny. These people have got nothing. But there's, if you listen between the lines, what you are going to hear is people that are very mad that their people that they were counting on to violate the Constitution and work in opposition of Trump are all getting kicked to the curb. And I think that's why they're so upset. They just can't articulate that because then they can't say, oh, democracy. All right, folks, have a great weekend. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. I'll see you on Monday. Be safe out there and keep the faith.